To order, if you'll all rise for invocation. Alderman Carter, you give an invocation?
Yes, let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for our community as we meet to discuss the business of the city. We just pray that you would give us guidance in all things. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Amen.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May be seated. We're going to call the roll. The Alderman, just signify by saying present. Alderman Wood.
Present.
Alderman Reeves. He'll be absent tonight. Alderman Morgan.
Present.
Alderman Maynard.
Present.
Alderman Carter. It appears that we do have a quorum for tonight's meeting. I do want to mention a couple things. One, on the minutes to be read, there's nothing in our charter that requires the minutes to be read aloud. So you have either received your packet for tonight's meeting in the email, or you picked it up in a packet here. So I'm going to ask for the consent of the board. Hold on, this is attorney calling, I'm sorry. This is Greg. Well, we just started. Okay, that sounds good. That'll be fine. Appreciate it. Okay, sorry about that. Our attorney will be joining us for the beer board meeting at 6:30. So, as I was saying, the minutes are not required to be read aloud. So I'm going to ask for the consent of the board that we not read those minutes aloud. If you have an objection to not reading them aloud, just speak your mind now. Anybody object to not reading them aloud? Okay, so there were no objections, so we will move through this process fairly quickly. Just let you know that the meetings have been recorded by Mr. Jameson, and so they're there. We also take minutes every meeting, and we will be in the next meeting recording those digitally ourselves. So it's time that we move ahead in recording that for ourselves as well. We appreciate his service in video, but we do need an official recording as we move forward with our town. Talk more about that later. So without further ado, do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
I so moved.
All right, motion by Alderman Carter, a second.
I second.
All right, second by Alderman Maynard. Any discussion for minutes? Anything you see that needs to be amended? Any questions? Anything? Okay. So we'll vote for the approval of the minutes. Alderman Maynard?
Yes.
Alderman Morgan?
Yes.
Alderman Wood?
Yes.
Alderman Carter?
Yes.
That motion will carry. Next item on your agenda is approval of resolutions. I have one note on here about moving the July 4th meeting to another night. Want to let you know that is a violation of our charter. We cannot move that meeting. So our calendar of board meetings, we meet the first Tuesday of every month. And the planning commission is scheduled to meet the fourth Tuesday of every month. So we cannot change the Board of Mayor and Alderman meeting dates per our charter. So what I will tell you is that on July 4th, I'll be here. If you don't make it because you're on vacation or whatever else, we will proceed with the process of the meeting. Of course, if we don't have a quorum, we'll table that meeting and suspend that meeting into another date. So just to let you know, that's the only meeting that I saw that jumps out at July 4th. And I know a lot of people take vacation, things like that on that date. So just keep that in mind. I had it as a original resolution to approve, but we cannot do that. So you can strike that from your agenda. Were there any other addition to the agenda? Addition, anybody? Okay.
Well, I had a couple of things that I wanted to ask about that we have tabled a couple of years ago that I feel like we need to either revisit these things, and one of them being, street signs.
Okay.
We have money that, we have $1,000 a year for street signs, and I just think that that's something we need to discuss, and I've got a couple of reasons for that, and I can tell you that if you want to, if not,
Alright.
we can talk about it later.
Okay.
One of the things that when I was looking back on meetings was, abandoned alleyways and stuff. We've tabled all of that to the point that, like, 2 years ago, we're still having, I feel like we need to address a few issues
Okay, well,
at some
those
point.
2 things, is that all you got? Those 2?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll add those to the agenda for discussion tonight. Any other additions to the agenda? Okay, all right, we'll move right ahead and we'll come back to those, agenda items. Approval of calendar of events, it really doesn't really require approval, but I wanted to let you know some dates to be aware of. They are pretty much what we've done in the past. Christmas parade, December 2. We'll deal with the times later. The carnival, Halloween deal, October 31st. River Day, I have not spoken with the committee at this point, nor have they met themselves. That's either going to be the 16th of September or the 23rd of September. While I'm speaking of that, I have reappointed Alderman Reeves as the River Day chairperson. So if you miss a meeting, you might get appointed to something. All right, so Veterans Day, November 11th, the luncheon that we did before. So there's some important dates that you need to be mindful of. It doesn't really require approval, and we'll talk about a couple of other public events later on in the next few sessions and whatnot. Okay. Any questions about those specific calendar dates? I will tell you that the barbecue festival, I talked to those folks the other day. They are also up in the air about September 16th versus September 23rd. Kansas City barbecue, they plan to come back, but they're working around some other national calendar things for their organization. Other calendar dates, well, I would be remiss if I didn't mention it, the Heritage Festival, which is now called the Tennessee River Rendezvous. That is April the 14th and 15th, I believe. Okay. It's just a 2-day event this year. So, any other questions about any of those? We'll move right along. Resolutions. The declaration of surplus property. If you don't have one of these in your packet, let me know. And that is 2023-03.
You too.
Y'all see that declaration of surplus property? 2023-03. This is something new. I'm sure you've read it prior to being here. We did not have a resolution that establishes our procedure to sell, auction, get rid of, so to speak, of any surplus property. So this resolution identifies that specific process for sale of property, be it some kind of dangerous property. It also identifies the surplus criteria, which is probably the most important. So as many of you know, we've got 3 specific junk vehicles right here in the city by our shop. We're not running a junkyard, so we need to disperse of those properties. But this document explains how to dispose of those. How do you go about the process? So I recommend that we make a motion to approve this resolution.
I make a motion.
All right, motion by Alderman Morgan,
I second.
a second by Alderman Woods. A discussion, any questions? No questions, we'll call for a vote. Alderman Morgan,
Yes.
Alderman Wood,
Yes.
Alderman Carter,
Yes.
Alderman Maynard.
Yes.
Motion passes. All right, specific to surplus property, as mentioned prior, Resolution 2023-02. You have that in front of you. The specific surplus property that I'm recommending that we to get off of our inventory roster are a 2007 Dodge Durango, 2005 Dodge Durango, and one Dodge pickup truck. I will make a recommendation that we approve this motion, and we can discuss it a little bit more if you have any questions about that. So can I get a motion to approve?
I so move.
Okay, motion by Alderman Carter,
I'll second it.
second by Alderman Maynard. Is there any discussion? Give you a couple of tidbits while you look at that again. The Dodge pickup was a former maintenance vehicle. It's in pretty bad shape. I don't think it has a dash in it, does, and I think the water pump's bad on it. It's pretty rough. And so the process, what we're approving is to be able to auction or sell and disperse it, and I would be the agent to do that. We don't have dollar figures attached to this, but it would be fair market value, what it would be. And then there's two Dodge Durangos. One of them, I think, is missing a transmission or a motor, one. They're both pretty rough. One of them was bought some years ago, I think as something to use for the fire department, and it blew up or whatever before they got it to Saltillo. They had to go get it on the record to get it back. So we're going to get rid of some of those things that we're just sitting around collecting dust and junking up the neighborhood. Any other discussion on that? All right, so we'll call Alderman Maynard,
Yes.
Alderman Morgan,
Yes.
Alderman Wood,
Yes.
Alderman Carter.
Yes.
All right, we'll put
Do
that
you
in.
need to set a date that you're gonna accept the bids by?
Yeah, we need to have it 2 weeks out or 10 days, so I got a calendar right here. February, today's the 7th, you wanna say the 21st, Tuesday, February 23rd, 21st, have their bids in, 3 p.m. Does that sound good?
That's good to me.
Okay. Okay, municipal code. You should have a resolution in front of you, 2023-04. This, let me just read this one to you. I know you've had it, but this is something a little bit different than what we've done before, and we'll talk about it a little bit more. Be it resolved that the governing body of the town of Saltillo, that the Municipal Technical Advisory Service is hereby requested to codify and revise the ordinance of the town of Saltillo at the earliest possible date. The town of Saltillo agreed to pay Municipal Technical Advisory Service $3,500 for codification and revisions of its ordinance based on their current population of 420. That's out from our most recent census. 50% of the cost will be paid when the ordinances are requested for codification, and the remaining 50% will be paid upon delivery of the first draft. Just to let you know, this is going to take at least 12 to 14 months to do this. And this is basically what this is taking our city charter and all of our ordinances and organizing those into one complete package with the most recent ordinance that we follow in that packet. Currently, what has to happen is somebody calls and I have to go and look through 2 or 3 books, flipping back and forth to see if I'm reading the most recent version or is it the old version, and find it. So this is highly advised for us to proceed with by the MTAS, who helps us with all of our other city business. So I recommend a motion to accept this resolution.
I so move.
We'll discuss after we do the motion. Okay. All right, got a motion by Alderman Carter, second.
I second.
Second by Alderman Rhodes. Discussion, Ms. Morgan.
Okay. Will the money for this come out of general fund?
The money would come out of general fund for this particular budget item. And we pay $1,500 in this year's budget, which is not necessarily already allocated, and then we'll allocate $1,500 for the next budget for 2024. Great question.
So this is gonna organize everything, but this is just a one-time fee, because after that, we'll have our own organization
Well,
to build on, is that right?
yes, it's a one-time fee to codify and put it all together. So anything that we make a motion on as far as an ordinance, that we have up to a year to get that in this new process. After that has been completed, there will be a nominal fee to update it from that point on. So our city is one of the few cities that do not have a municipal code. And so it's recommended that it will help us, will help our attorneys, it will help MTAS to service us, because when I call them, they say, hey, send me a copy of that ordinance, because they don't have copies of our ordinances. And this will be posted on their sites. Anybody in the public could go to the website and find our charter, find our ordinances, find everything there is to know about our town, and we'll also be able to post it on our website as well. So it's really a big piece of information for the community at large, but it also helps you as aldermen to operate and understand what is the ordinance. Not what you heard the ordinance was, but you'll be able to see it. And you can still see it, you just had to come in here and thumb through it like I do when you're looking for something specific. Even back in 1952, if you haven't read those ordinances about, I don't know, horses in the street, you know, that kind of stuff. So it's some pretty interesting read there. So any other questions? Okay. Alderman Wood? There'll be a vote?
Yes.
Yeah. Alderman Carter?
Yes.
Alderman Maynard?
Yes.
Alderman Morgan?
Yes.
Motion passes. Okay. All right. Appointment of members of the Planning Commission. These are all mayor appointees. I will make a recommendation to the board to approve my recommendations. That way we'll be official. I will tell you, first of all, Roger Gant was already on the Planning Commission, and his term will expire at the end of this election cycle. That's the way the Planning Commission works. Miss Georgia Brewer is already on the Planning Commission. She was appointed previously by Mayor Lowry, so her term will expire at the end of the election cycle. My recommendation for aldermen to be represented on the Planning Commission is Alderman Maynard. And then we have community members that I am recommending, Emily Mitchell, and of course I will be on the Planning Commission as the 5th member. So need a consent for that group of aldermen, a group of Planning Commission members. Can we get a motion to approve those members?
So there's 4 members?
There are 5 members of the board. I'm one of them,
Right,
and Alderman is one of them,
Right.
and then we
And
have
then
three community members.
right.
So Roger Gant and Miss Georgia Brewer, they were already on the Planning Commission in the past 2 years. So they will be continuing that role until the new election cycle. And then they may be somebody else appointed, so. Okay,
May I ask a stupid question? Since,
go right.
what does the planning commission do?
Okay, what the Planning Commission does is they identify the zoning for our town. That's one thing. So for instance, right here around El Portrio, that was zoned as commercial property in that little area. Not everything. Now our current map, just to let the community know, we just got an updated map. It'll be coming in. I got it in a digital format, so we're gonna blow it up like this so anybody in the community can come and look at it. But the property that we just annexed down on the river Residential 2, and I think that's right. But most of our city is mixed use district. So the Planning Commission does those kind of things. They also look at possible annexations. They also look at the most recent ordinance we did from Planning Commission was about setbacks. So for instance, if we have somebody that buys a lot in town and they want to build a house on it, they have to build their house within certain area of that piece of land. They can't be, more than, I think it's 12.5 feet to the line. So they do a variety of things that basically plan our city infrastructure, deal with roads, the arterial traffic, things like that, major road plans, and their decisions are then brought to the alderman for approval. So that would be their level of involvement. So they help to plan those kind of things. They recommend ordinances for planning and zoning. So if we had if you want to build a multi-unit dwelling in our town, like an apartment complex, that would have to come before the planning commission. And the planning commission would determine if it's a place zoned that you can do those kind of things. Great question, anybody else? All right, so can I get a motion to approve those, remember? And did we do that already? All right.
I'll make one.
All right, motion by Alderman Wood,
I'll second.
second by Alderman Carter, Alderman Maynard.
I don't think
She has to abstain.
I have to abstain.
Oh, yeah, you had to
Yes.
abstain, yeah, you're right, you're the member now. Alderman Wood,
Yes.
Alderman Wood,
Mhm.
Alderman Carter,
Yes.
okay, and I will also say yes, because I appointed. So, that carried. All right, the next, committee meeting is the Board of Zoning Appeals. That may be another question that some of you have, we really haven't been up to date and organized in our planning and zoning as far as Board of Appeals. I think we only met one time in the last 2 years. But the Board of Zoning Appeals members are also mayor appointees, and these are basically an independent party that is like the Supreme Court of Planning and Zoning. I'll explain that more in a minute, but recommended to you Steve Turner, I believe he's here tonight, I thought I saw him as the Board of Zoning Appeals, and Diana Jernigan, I believe she's here, thought she was, it's all a while ago.
I think
Taking
she-
pictures, okay. And then I have also another individual that has not committed to being appointed, Roger Phillips. So we will not be putting his name forward tonight. I will wait until he makes a commitment to me to say he will participate in that endeavor. The Board of Zoning Appeals, like I said, is kind of the Supreme Court of Planning Commission. So to give you an example of what they do, I mentioned if you had a lot and you wanted to build a house on it, you had to build, the side of your house has to be 12.5 feet off that line. Well, a member of the community that's building that house can come to the planning commission and they can say, I want a variance on this ordinance. I want to build my house 5 feet close to the line because I want to put my chicken coop over here on the other side or whatever. And the planning commission can say, no, we are not going to grant you that variance. So it goes to the Board of Zoning Appeals. The Board of Zoning Appeals will hear that argument. I would like to get a variance on my house. I want to build it 5 feet close to the line. And the Board of Zoning Appeals can say, fine. That 3-member board will have that final authority. Nobody can change it beyond that. It is their final decision. But they may also uphold what the planning commission has. So that's what they do. They handle appeals for zoning ordinance and things like that. Okay, so that's what they do. Any questions about that? All right, so can I get, that's a recommendation to appoint those people as, well actually 2 specifically, Diana Jernigan and Steve Turner tonight as member of the Board of Zoning Appeals.
I'll make a motion.
All right, motion by Alderman Maynard,
I'll second.
second by Alderman Morgan. And we'll call for a vote. Alderman Maynard,
Yes.
Alderman Morgan,
Yes.
Alderman Wood,
Yes.
Alderman Carter.
Yes.
That passes. All right, appreciate that. Just to let you know again that the Planning Commission meets the 4th Tuesday of the month at 6 o'clock right here in this building. And the Board of Zoning Appeals folks can join us on that. There'll be some training along the way, some state training and things they come in. I mean, you've been through this, Mr. Turner, I know, but for new folks, that's kind of how it works. It's open to the public if you want to come sit through a training, but it's a lot of things that are said that you may have never heard before. And we don't meet very long. All right. No, we're doing on time. We're doing good. All right, let's move right ahead. The approval for bids on the doctor's roof repair, we already made an approval to move forward with that. The bids have not come in from MTAS yet, so we'll scratch that off. I'm going to recommend a table of the nepotism policy once again. Any objections to that? Table. All right, let's move on. Ordinance, park ordinance, if you'll grab that out of your packet. Park ordinance is 2023-02. I have included with this, I thought you had the prior ordinance in there.
No, it has some of my notes in there.
Okay. You had the, but you have the current ordinance, and I can tell you specifically what is different about this. You've already read it, so I'm gonna recommend that the city adopt ordinance 2023-02.
Is this the time for any discussion about that?
So again, oh, after we get a motion in, then we can discuss it. So, ordinance, number 2023-02.
You need a motion to accept this?
Motion to,
Accept it.
okay, so
Yes.
Alderman Wood, I think, was, a motion to accept. Morgan was a second. All right, discussion.
Okay, the, section 1:1. It says, it shall be unlawful to operate bicycles, motor scooters, motorized bicycles, 3 and 4 wheelers, golf carts, ATVs, or motorcycles within the city parks of Saltillo. It shall also be unlawful to ride horses or walk horses anywhere in the boundaries of the city parks. I understand, the reasoning for a lot of that, but I don't understand, I don't really agree that the bicycles, and I know we have had for years problems with, people that don't live here all the time, tearing up the school grounds with, motorized vehicles. You know, that has been a problem, or has been a problem for a long time. But to bicycles, I don't know that, I mean, a park is usually for children to play in and adults to walk in, you know, around the tracks and things. I just don't know if we need to have bicycles in that, ordinance.
Well, we talked about inside the fenced area.
Yes, sir. Inside the fence, yes.
Oh, inside the ballpark?
Well, I say the fence, there's a perimeter fence in the front, the red fence. So where the track and all that is, that's inside the perimeter fence. You
You
might
mean
not.
the
yeah.
iron, the
Yeah,
iron?
that's correct. But now the
thing?
ball field itself is a regular, cyclone fence with that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so anything beyond that parking lot, we're saying, that's what this ordinance is pertaining to.
They can ride it to the school, they just can't ride it inside.
Can't ride the
where
bicycle around the track and stuff. I mean, that's what this says.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I have seen a lot of people with their children up there with little bicycles they carry, and they're, I mean, I don't think, surely we would not allow that.
Okay. All right.
That's my opinion.
Okay, so, my recommendation would be, when we vote, you do not vote for it. And then we can make another motion to exclude bicycle, okay?
Okay.
That's how it would work in this instance, but anyway.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
any other questions about this ordinance? Okay. Let me identify two things that are new and rationale for that. The park hours of operation from dusk to dawn, and children under age of 13 that must be accompanied by an adult. Basically, we're revising or amending this ordinance from the original to give our chief of police and any patrol officer that we may employ the ability to deal with any mischief in the park. And so without any time of open and close, you can go sit up there all night and, do whatever you want to do all night at this point. And for people that live in the community that like to walk at midnight, that's really not really too much wrong with that. But if you got 6 teenagers up there just cutting up and carrying on, that's probably not a good thing. So we know kids that are unsupervised or things can happen after dark. So that's what this ordinance is for. So, yeah.
Will we have a sign up with some of these like of what you can have on it or not, the hours and that up
Yeah,
there?
once
so
once
people
we
know
have
about
a
it?
ordinance, the standard will do that for sure. So at this time, we're gonna call for a vote. And if you don't like it, you vote against it. All right. So it'd be Alderman Morgan,
No.
Alderman Wood,
No.
Alderman Carter,
No.
Alderman Maynard.
No.
The ordinance failed. I believe we can entertain a motion to amend the ordinance, and we will have to rewrite it and sign it and probably present it again next week. So do we have a motion to make a change?
I make a motion
To what?
to change the bicycles out of it.
To eliminate bicycles
Yes.
from the language. Okay, all right, so she has made a motion to eliminate bicycles from the language of section 1. Is there a second?
I second.
Second by Alderman Wood. All right, call for a vote. Alderman Carter,
Yes.
Alderman Wood,
Yes.
Alderman Maynard,
Yes.
Alderman Morgan.
Yes.
All right, so we will amend that ordinance 2302. We'll do the paperwork on that, and you may see that again very soon, okay? All right, travel reimbursement ordinance, 2303. We had a previous, ordinance about travel and authorization, and it referred to an incorrect mileage, amount, and also Rand McNally, which I don't know if anybody uses Rand McNally anymore. You do, okay, you like paper map? So, it was recommended to us to update this ordinance, and I think the few people will, kind of fall under this ordinance. It would be me, the mayor, when I'm going to meetings. It would potentially be an alderman who is attending a meeting or a training or something that we agree to reimburse, that kind of thing. I don't see in our future any hotel stays and things like that, but I do have to go to Jackson from time to time, and you may have to go and things like that. So, the recommendation to accept ordinance 2023 travel reimbursement.
Sorry, it's hard to get into it. Yeah, it's replacing this one,
The old,
yeah, the O one.
Yeah, the 2005 dash vote is replacing it.
Yeah.
This is replacing
I
that.
make a motion that we accept it.
Motion by Alderman Maynard,
I've read it.
Good.
I second.
second by Alderman Wood. We'll call for the vote. Alderman Morgan,
Yes.
Alderman Wood,
Yes.
Alderman Carter,
Yes.
Alderman Maynard.
Yes.
Motion passes on that. Okay, thank you. All right, quick mayor's report. I spent 3 days in January. I say 3 days, 3 evenings from 5 to 8 p.m. with a MTAS training for new electees, new appointments, mayor, alderman, things like that. Very good information through that meeting, and if it comes around again, I would recommend some aldermen participate in that meeting. Also, the flag that's missing on the river landing, Groom's Tree Service has agreed to help us get that repaired. They got a bucket truck, so they're gonna help us get that fixed. So that'll be good for our community to get that back up. All right, financial report. You see one account balances. Of course, you see the general fund. This is what is in the accounts currently. Our fire fund is only like $1,865, and they have some expenses coming up that we might want to consider using some of the APR funds from. They've got just gave me a bill for a couple things that they would like to get today from some breathing apparatus and different things like that. So, and you see what's available in parks, and then you see what's available in River Day account, and then street aid, and then finally the APR fund that we talked about, where we're gonna have to make some decision on what money we're gonna have. So that's your account balances. Currently $305,202.62. with the APR fund being $98,034.84 of that. Any question about account balances? If you look at your revenue and expenditure statement, what we talked about in our planning session is about how do we determine next year's budget. So what Ms. Jackson, our CMFO, is going to do, along with me, we're going to provide for you, hopefully next meeting, our actual expenditures for 2022. We will estimate our expenses for 2023, basically this year, and then we will present that to the board, let y'all study it. We've already talked about it, and then you can look through there and see, hey, do you need to add more or move something around? That gives you an opportunity to kind of think about the budget on your own. So we will give you what it costs for a full year to do certain things, and then we will give you an estimate for 2023-24, which is starting July 1, because there are some things that's going to come up that may not be in the budget that you'll need to know about, like increased expenses. We had a $13,000 worth of liability insurance that we had to pay the other day. That was not previously budgeted in our account, so we had to move some things around in the general fund to make sure that was covered. So we want to try to catch some of those estimated changes. Also with the municipal code, let you know, hey, we're going to have to put a little bit of money here. So that'll give you a couple of columns to look at. One of them will be strictly an estimate from myself and Ms. Jackson. And then there'll be a proposed budget, and you can work on that, and then we'll meet before July 1st. We'll probably do another work session in April to discuss those estimates and projections. Okay? Anything on the expenditure report that you see that may jump out to you? We're in the middle of tax season, by the way. So if you look at property taxes, we haven't collected it all. They've got to the end of the month. And just note that there is a late fee established on our tax revenue. So everybody gets their bill, they need to make sure that they look at that, because that's going to be important to getting it paid on time. But if you look at if you look through there, I don't know if there's anything else that will jump out to you as far as where we are. We're doing pretty good with our budget. We're not over our expenditures and revenue, so we're doing quite well for this time of year. Any questions? Okay. All right. Let's see here. Lost my agenda here on my table. What's the next thing? Alderman report. We have any reports from Alderman in the report? We don't have a department report, I don't think. Chief Young is not here today. He's not feeling well. Agenda. Oh, I lost it on this bit. All right, so won't be any department report this time in the meeting. As I mentioned before, any comments need to be addressed to the chairman, the mayor, but the board is certainly will listen to those things. It's not a back and forth meeting. So at this point in time, if we have anyone in the community that wants to give a comment, concern, commendation, this is your time. We'll ask you to state your name and your address, and we'll let you have a minute for a comment. Is there anybody that would like to make a comment tonight? Anybody? Okay. None speaking up, so we will not have any tonight. So I will make a, at this point, motion for adjournment.
Also moved.
Motion by Alderman Carter.
Second.
Second by Alderman Morgan, and we will be adjourned. We will take a short recess. We'll take 5-minute recess. Should be 6:45 when we come back, I believe. Okay.